Joining me now, Representative Tippi McCullough, Democrat from Little Rock. She is the House Minority Leader. Always good to have you with us. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Roby. Happy to be here.
All right. I called Senator Bart Hester in the first segment Bart at the very beginning before I got it straight. So I'm going to call you Tippi, and then I'm going to refer to you as Representative McCullough after that. So I know you all from talking to you on and off the record so much, but tough week for your party, tough week for you in particular in the special session up there. You didn't get what you wanted. You voted against the tax cut package that was presented by the governor and Republican leadership there. Why were you opposed to that?
You know, I voted back in the regular session. I also voted against the tax package. I still feel like that when we do our tax cuts, that most often they benefit the people that need them the least, and the people that need them the most get the smallest amount. I said yesterday that $150 back to a low-income earner, maybe back in 1970, would have been beneficial and could have been stretched a lot further. But in today's economy, it's just really hard for that to make as much difference as we need to. And I know an argument to that is, well, in the past, we've given, some breaks to low-income, middle-income earners. But to me, the people that need it the most should get the most breaks. And I just don't believe that's what's happened. I also don't like the idea we were going to spread this out over several years. And I don't like the idea of the acceleration of it, especially if we're too worried to spend money on teacher raises. It worries me a little bit to accelerate that and to take the chances also with the lawsuits that are being filed in some other states over federal money. That's also worrisome.
It sounds like Republicans, if they maintain their super majorities, or at least their majorities, which there's at least mathematically, probability wise, they will look to stay in power. There's barely enough Democrats to change that calculus if y'all were to run the table and win everything. But you could break the super majorities. Let me point that out. But it looks like there will be more tax reduction in years to come. Is this something that you see a way to change opinions on? Because it represents, I think, 53% of general revenue, if I remember from the last fiscal year, was based off just individual income tax collections.
Yeah, I mean, I see that also. I see the rhetoric and especially from, one of our governor candidates that that's where she wants to head, is down to zero, and hearing it also in the House. And even some of the bills that have been floated a little bit, there was some talk of doing some teacher lowering their taxes, or even making zero taxes for teachers. There was some talk of some things like that, and to me, that was just a path. We start doing zero income tax for this group, zero for this group, zero for this group. Before we know it, we're all going down to zero. And of course, that's our biggest fear, is that we're going to have to fund our state and our responsibilities. We're going to have to fund it somehow. And if that doesn't come through income tax, it's going to have to come some way. So it's certainly a fear that that's where we're headed.
Well, with a $6 billion budget, you had a $1.6 billion surplus. I think there would be a lot of arguments to be made that you could trim a lot of what you're collecting. I don't know off the top of my head what 1.6 billion divided by 6 is, but it's significant. So why not cut taxes further?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's significant, but I also think there's lots of things that could be done. Even in the governor's first plan for teacher raises, the tax cuts were there along with the teacher raise plan. So I believe we can do more than one thing at a time. And I just believe there's lots of opportunity with that kind of surplus to do a lot of really inspirational things that could help our state and move us several notches, regionally and nationally. So I just think we're missing opportunities with that kind of surplus.
Oh, I did a quick math there. It's about 25% is what that the 1.6 billion out of 6 billion is. All right, so teacher pay, this was something that Democrats have been pushing for several weeks. You had a raise plan out there. It did not make the special session call. Obviously, you would have liked to have had that on. There was a couple pieces of legislation filed. You would like to have that added on once the special session business was taken care of. There wasn't consensus there for it. Why not?
Well, we were encouraged when the governor first talked about putting it on his call. And so, of course, that got everyone interested. Teachers, had some hope that this was an opportunity to give them a raise now and not wait. And we're always gonna, I'm always gonna advocate for teachers. I've taught for 33 years. I know what it's like to be in the classroom, and I think everything's showing that we lost some teachers during COVID. Things became so difficult. We're losing some teachers, especially around border states, to more money in other states. And it just has to be, we have to give them, I mean, we want it to be the best, but we have to give them something that's fair, something that's livable, or we're going to continue that trend. So I think that, like I said today, I don't believe anyone's against teachers. I don't believe anyone up there is against teachers, but we need to be for teachers. It needs to be urgent. We need to go ahead and make a move on that. I feel like if adequacy could get us where we're going, we would already be there. And so I think we have to do more.
What do you think will happen realistically in the next legislative session? The adequacy study comes back. It's somewhat predictable in terms of you can look at trends and where things have come from and where they're going. There's not going to be any dramatic surprises, I think, once the adequacy study is done. What do you think will realistically happen in the next legislative session on teacher pay?
Like I said, I think there was some support for teacher pay. Things become, as always, very political when we get into especially events like special sessions. So I do think that the pressure this isn't just coming from Democrats, this is coming from teachers all over the state, not just here in Central Arkansas that I'm hearing from. I'm hearing from people all over the state. So I think that pressure, the hope of there being some money for the raises, along with the adequacy study. I'm hoping the next governor, whoever he or she may be, I'm hoping the next governor will come in and that will be a priority. And so whatever comes through with the adequacy study, that's great. But once again, if we could get there with strictly that, seems like we would already be in a better place right now. So I'm hoping whoever comes in as governor after the election, that person, and I know if it's Chris Jones, I know that he has a great plan for educators. And I'm hoping that will be a high priority and that we can do something. Like I said today, education is going to be important in the success of our state. It always has been, it always will be, and it has to be a priority. We have to continue to build that consensus. We have to continue to support our public schools, our teachers, our staff, everybody that's involved.
Chris Jones, the Democratic nominee for governor, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the Republican nominee for governor, and Ricky Dale Harrington is the Libertarian in that race. So we'll see how that plays out. So let me ask you, is there a dollar figure? I know the Democrats put the plan out there. I believe it was a $6,000 raise. Is that what you think that will be the starting point in the next legislative session? Or do you see the possibility of going higher than that? Will you push for something higher than that?
Yeah, we wanted to raise the minimum to 42. We stayed really close to the governor's plan. There were $4,000 raises is what we had in there for certified teachers, and at around a cost of $600 million. We did some studying with the Bureau, and we were trying to see how far we could push that. Actually, what we found out is that you could push it further, and still, with our plan, had it gone into effect, we could have still pushed that a little further. We wanted to be as realistic as possible, stick to the opportunity that maybe the governor would support, something that we came up with, as long as it was sustainable and realistic. But we also wanted to be something that would really help teachers. So do I think that there is that we can do better? Yes. I absolutely do. And I hope we will.
This next legislative session, because this was not done in the special session either, there was no legislation taken up to deal with abortion in the wake of the Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade. It looks like it will be a big issue in the next regular session of the Arkansas General Assembly. Arkansas has a very strict law on abortion, just only exception is for the life of the mother. There's a lot of folks that would like to see those exceptions expanded, particularly in rape and incest, and we've got some high-profile incidents of that. What do you think is realistic in terms of what might change, if anything, in the next legislative session, or do you think that the if the Republicans had the majority, they're going to stick with the law as it is?
Well, I think, of course, in the House and Senate, there's a strong support for the pro-life movement and the abortion laws as we have them now. However, I do think that what we are hearing outside of the chambers from people out in our constituencies is that we're going too far. This is too extreme. That especially, I mean, things that we would like to look for to edge this to a more humane laws is to, of course, get rape and incest added as exceptions. And then also to talk about fetal anomalies and to work on that in some way to help. And also the health of the mother is something that we really want to, not just the life, but also the health of the mother. And we have some representatives that are working on those things. We're not pushing for, I mean, would we like to repeal, our trigger law and do lots of things like that, bring back Roe v. Wade, reasonable Roe v. Wade? Sure, I would really like to do that. But we're also very reasonable. We want to make sure that we're taking care of the most vulnerable in our society. And so those are the kinds of things that we'll be working on and talking about.
I guess I just asked this question a little philosophically. You obviously talk to a lot of your Republican colleagues a lot. You know your Democratic caucus well too. Is there common ground on the issue of abortion?
I think there is, and especially on rape and incest exceptions. Now, I won't say there's common ground totally because obviously there are folks out there that believe that that not having those exceptions is the way to go. That there should be no exceptions, no matter what. And so we certainly have that contingency, but I do think, once again, that there is some room on some issues like that. I know the governor signed that bill, but I think, at times he has said he is kind of uncomfortable with that also because there have been actual instances of that happening, not just in the nation, but in Arkansas. And so I think that that's the kind of places that there is some room for us to have discussions and to talk and to work on trying to protect really vulnerable, especially vulnerable kids.
We've talked tax cuts, abortion, and teacher pay. What is in the next regular session of the General Assembly, what are you going to be focused on outside of those three big issues right there? What's going to be a big focus for you?
I mean, I think that we will, are you talking about me personally?
Sure.
Yeah. As always, I'm going to work on education issues. I think that the Education Committee is going to have a lot of really important issues that come before it this next time. So I'll certainly be interested in watching those. I'm always working on domestic violence issues and trying to shore up our laws and make sure that we're protecting anybody in a domestic violence situation, kids, women, men, whoever it is, make sure that they are as protected and kept as safe as possible. I tend to like to work on, as far as an economic issue, I tend to like to work on our bicycle trails, mountain bike, road bike. And we just had, a big initiative in Conway that they're going to be doing some stuff. We've got things going on from here to Hot Springs through Saline County. So I think just lots of good things like that. So I'm a real proponent for that. I'm also doing some work with the mental health working group. I'm chair or basically the head of the subgroup for suicide. And so we'll be looking for some mental health, some ways to help with mental health issues in Arkansas. And once again, whether that's in schools or whether that's in the public at large, some of those issues are very, very personal to many of us. And we've got a really great bipartisan group to work on that. So I'm hoping that's one of the big things that will happen.
Will you promise me that at some point in the next regular session, you'll carve out 10 minutes of time to do another interview with me? Because it sounds like you're going to be really, really busy, Representative McCullough.
I would love to. I would love to get together and talk again. Always happy to talk with you, Roby.